if we're talking specifically about creating an onboarding, I would say the first step is to really decide for your practice what is most important for you to relay during that first week. How do you want your new hires to come in and feel? Are you trying to make them more passionate? Are you trying to help them understand what their purpose is? Do you want them to be more collaborative with all of the departments? Like, what is it that's important for you and your practice?
Welcome to season 3 of the Ophthalmology Experience powered by Boost Patients. Today we're joined by Amanda Turner. Amanda is the Director of Operations at Austin Retina Associates, and she's been there for more than 12 years, building deep experience inside a growing specialty practice. Today she oversees daily operations across Austin Retina's multiple clinic locations and brings a practical perspective on training teams, improving workflows, and keeping patient care at the center of what they do. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Before we started the recording, I was just telling you that I really enjoy hearing your presentations at the meetings at SOA and other meetings. So uh, now I can ask you 4 more questions that I don't get the opportunity to do so whenever you have tons of people walking up to you at the front. So,
Yeah.
so thanks for joining.
Yeah. Thank you so
Uh,
much.
I, so reading your intro bio, 12 years, huh? It seems this kind of goes kind of fast, huh? Does it feel like it's been 12 years in your practice?
Yeah, I'm actually about to hit 13 years in July.
Wow.
So it does, it goes by fast, but it goes by slow all at the same time.
Yeah.
But it is kind of crazy that I feel like I've kind of grown up at Austin Retina and I've learned so much along the way and I love ophthalmology. I love what we do. So it's been really cool that I've been able to be with one practice for such a long time.
Yeah, it's not as common these days. And what did you do? Or you're pretty young, I'm sure, but what did you do before Austin right now?
Uh, before Austin Retina, I still was in healthcare, but I did not do ophthalmology. I wasn't in the retina or ophthalmology space. I was working for a heart hospital actually, as a clinic assistant there, and then I made the jump over to Austin Retina, and I've been there ever since.
Awesome. Well, cool. I know that you've probably seen a lot of things change over those 12, almost 13 years now.
Mhm.
With specifically, I think today I'd really like to pick your brain on just how to onboard employees in such a way that you can reduce turnover, keep them engaged, and help set them up to be successful with your practice. And I know you guys do a lot of cool things around that.
Yeah.
Um, so we can start there. I mean, why don't we do that? Because I'd like for those who have not heard you give that talk a little bit about what that process looks like to bring staff into your practice. And it's especially since COVID, it's been more of an issue in terms of doing it the right way because we've seen a little bit more turnover. And so why don't you start there? Tell us about you. Where do you start? What's next as far as like once you identify the right person? What's Tell me, walk me through it.
Yeah, so I'll start by saying that we have not always been very intentional about our onboarding. When I started with the practice almost 13 years ago, I think I spent like half a day going through like the boring HR, HIPAA compliance, all of those things. And then they just kind of like usher you to the person that's going to train you. And that's really the end of it. And we decided several years ago, probably like 7 or 8 years ago now, that we really wanted to be intentional about the way that we onboard our employees. Um, one, for the retention, like you said, but also because we want everybody to have a very well-rounded understanding of what the life cycle of a patient is within our practice. So it doesn't really matter what department you're coming into, you're going to during that full week of onboarding, you're going to get experience in each of our departments so that you have a better understanding of how all of the departments are supposed to work together with each other, and we have found that that really does help create more of a collaboration between the departments. And so, when we're interviewing now, we get a lot of interviews and we're very selective in the way that we hire people. We hire culture first and then we train for skills. And so that's kind of the first process is you come in, you do an interview. If you make it through that, then you do a clinic observation. And then if you make it through that, then, we offer you the job. And we only onboard once every 2 weeks because we are very intentional about our onboarding. And we have leaders from all of the different departments that participate in that week-long onboarding. And so every 2 weeks will be a new onboarding class if we have people that are joining. And it's a full week long course or orientation is what we call it, onboarding. And it goes through, all of the things that we have to get through, right? How to clock in, where to park, how you get your scrubs, all of those things. But we're very intentional about adding in stuff that is going to help foster passion for our what we do. We save sight in our practice, and that's a really amazing thing. And so the first day that they come in, we teach them about our patient experience and how we expect all of our patients to be treated. They go through a 2-hour training with myself and our patient experience manager on that first day, where we really dive into some tools and resources that they can use to help with our patient experience. And then another cool thing that we do in our onboarding is
Yeah.
what we call a patient experience appointment. So each new hire will actually call on the phone to our call center and make an appointment for themselves. And then they actually come in and they go through an actual appointment like they would a patient. We don't dilate their eyes. We're not that mean to them, but we do everything else. We check their eye pressure. We do an OCT. We do a set of fundus photos. And we've found that this really helps them create a deeper level of empathy with our patients because they have a deeper level of understanding of what they actually go through.
Mhm.
We do a lot of other things, but I'm gonna pause there and see if you have any.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I know you probably only scratch the surface of what you do, but yeah, that seems very, a lot of that stuff makes sense, but I don't know if enough people are being intentional about doing it. I think having them go through an actual exam first is really cool. I don't know if I've heard you say that before, but that's really cool. I think that's great. Um, yeah, I just want you to keep going because I have a lot of questions, but I don't want to derail you. So, but I guess as you keep going, so if let's say you said every 2 weeks as you're onboarding,
Mhm.
is the process that you're describing, is that a 2-week total process? Is that how long it lasts or not? Is that that long?
No, it's just 1 week, and so the onboarding is 1 week, and then after that 1 week, they kinda go into their department-specific training. So if they're going into
Got it.
clinic, then they break off and they go into clinic next, or if they're going into research, then they go to research. So it's 1 full week, and that week
Sure.
consists of, like I said, all of the normal things that you have to do to get somebody onboarded, our customer or our patient experience training. We also put them through a lean training. We are very big on lean in our practice. It's a part of who we are. And so they get a lean training during that first week. And I want to put the caveat there that could be a whole nother topic in and of itself.
For sure.
But the way that we utilize lean in our practice is to help just reduce wasted time. We do not use lean to rush patients through our office. That's not what it's about. And so that initial training with them is kind of getting them to understand how we utilize lean. In addition to that, they do what we call interdepartmental observations. And so it doesn't matter what department they're going into, they do several different departmental observations during that first week where they will go and spend 1 or 2 hours in a different department, either observing a clinic or sitting with somebody in our RCM department or observing our research department or working at the front desk. And like I said, that's really helping them get that more well rounded understanding of all of the
Sure.
different touches that our patients have throughout their visits. Um, and then I think
Mhm.
one of the other really important things that we do during that first week is they actually have a meet and greet with their direct manager. So it's not like they wait weeks to sit down and talk to their direct manager. They get that touch point that very first week to kind of just check in with them, put a face to the name if they haven't already met them directly, which normally they do in the interview, but not everybody always remembers that process. Um,
Right.
and so we get that touch point in that very first week as well.
So is this schedule like this first week, is it pretty structured in terms of like, day 1, they're doing the observations, day 2, they're doing so
Yes.
everyone goes through that same process?
Yeah, it's pretty rinse and repeat, and we have to make it that
Okay.
way because we have different people own different things that they do during that week. So like I said, for me, every Monday in the afternoon, I know every other week I have a hold on my calendar for those 2 hours to make sure that I'm available to go and do my portion of the patient experience training with them. And so it is very structured during that week, long onboarding.
Yeah. What about, I know you guys have quite a few locations with Austin Retina.
Mhm.
Do you have all of them come to a specific place to do that?
So right now we do, but we did recently change our structure into more of a regional structure instead of before. So we've got 11 locations, and before we would hire kind of centrally, and everybody would kind of report to this one office and then kind of go out from there. And as I'm sure you can imagine, that started not really working that well for our staff. That's a lot of travel time in between clinics. That's earlier arrival times. That's later times getting home. And so we've
Mhm.
recently made the transition to regional staffing. And so as with everything, we are now in the process of rethinking about our onboarding week and figuring out how we can either divide that up to be regionally or maybe make some of the segments virtual if they're not like observations. And so we're in the
Okay.
process of that right now. And that's another big thing that I'll say is we developed the initial onboarding program several years ago. And I would say probably once a year we're looking at it and we're reassessing and figuring out, is this still working for us? Are we getting the results that we wanted to? Do we need to shift things around? Do we need to add anything? Those kinds of things.
Sure. Well, I mean, Austin traffic is not that bad. They can drive in. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. There's no traffic here.
uh, I think, yeah, I think you have to, because everything is becoming more regional just because it's just as the cities grow and it's our patients don't want to travel, staff
Yeah,
doesn't want to, and I get it. I don't want to travel and I
yeah,
have to, but we do it. But
yeah.
yeah, it's definitely, and I think all those things combined, looking at the intentionality of the onboarding plus trying to meet people where they are and make that more efficient is likely to increase your ability to attract and recruit the right people and more people and keep people engaged in that process. But I'm sure you've also, back especially a few years ago more so was like you would hire somebody and then if there's too much time in between or the process didn't go smoothly, like people are like going to other jobs, like they'll accept like two and three jobs, and
Mhm.
that's gotten a lot better over the past few years. But still, I'm sure that this helps you do that. And then my next question too is, have you noticed? So you mentioned you haven't always done this. Like, what have been some of the measurable metrics that you see a difference? Like now that we've started doing it this way, and ever since we've continued to progress, versus when we didn't. What are some things that you use to measure success?
I think it's definitely helped with our overall turnover. I will say that our turnover has never been terrible, but we've definitely had periods of time where it's been higher. And what we do as exit interviews for all of our employees, and that was one of the things that we learned from them is that they just didn't feel like they had enough knowledge of what was going on, or they didn't get enough contact with other departments, or whatever it may be. And so that was one thing that we really took and we said, okay, well, we can fix this, we can change it. So I think it's definitely helped with that. In addition to that, maybe not quite as measurable. We really do feel like it's helped with creating that drive or fostering that drive for our employees. I think that
Mhm.
working in healthcare, we can probably say anybody who's going to come and work in healthcare is passionate about helping people, but I think sometimes that passion gets a little lost in, like, the daily tasks of your job, and so what we try to be very intentional with them is giving them tools that they can use during that first week of onboarding to maintain that empathy with our patients and that passion for working with our patients. In addition to that 1 week of onboarding, we also try to continue those touch points throughout their employment, so it's not like you just get this 1 week and then everything's done.
Sure.
We do leadership development classes. We do additional touch points meetings with their departments, with their supervisors, where we're talking to them about these tools that we give them. So I think
Mhm.
that's the other thing that I would say is you can't you can't just expect like a 1 week of onboarding to set them up for success for their entire career with your practice. But it's a really
Right.
good starting point to give them.
Hey, this is Boost Patience with a short break from your podcast. We are here to help you book more consults, and we do that by reaching out to your patients super fast and effectively through several different forms of communication to make sure we touch base with them when they're thinking about you and convert your consults at a higher level, getting patients in the door so that you can continue to grow your revenue. We are here and excited to help you. Take a look at our website, boostpatients.com. Book a time to meet with us so we can learn about your practice and how we can work together. We look forward to speaking to you. And now, back to your podcast.
That was going to be one of my next questions, is that how do you get them to really jump onto that bandwagon of being empathetic and caring and being passionate about patient care? You kind of answered it saying, well, it's not just the week. You got to keep training and implementing that. So, and then I also want to ask you a question about the patient experience manager. I heard you say that.
Mhm.
Could you explain that role a little bit more and how that works, how that person functions in your practice?
Yeah, so she actually started out as a technician and she was a scribe. She's been with our practice, I think, actually a little longer than I have been, maybe 15 years now. Um, and she's also our kind of like lean guru. But her patient experience manager role is really that she kind of manages the entire patient experience. She looks at all of the reviews that come in online. She will call all of the patients if they didn't have a great experience to find out more information, because we are really wanting to hear from our patients and learn from them what about their experience, what about their time in our office did not go well, so that we can then give that feedback directly to either the physician or the team that worked with that patient or the individual that worked with that patient, because we're wanting to constantly learn. And so that's a big part of
Mhm.
her role, is answering all of those reviews that come in. She will also help answer, like if a patient calls in upset, she will take those calls and she will talk to them and hear them out. And she's really good at her job. So I can't imagine having to talk to upset patients all day, every day, but she does that. She's extremely empathetic with them. And she just lets them know that we appreciate the feedback and that we're going to work on it and we're going to make it better for next time. And I think that that
Sure.
really also helps our patients feel heard and feel like we truly do care about their experience. In addition to that, like I said, she's kind of our lean guru. So she will also come into the clinic and she will do observations of the teams and she will give them tips and tricks on, hey, you've got a bottleneck here. If you did this or that, that might help with that. So that's also a good portion of her job as well.
Is she involved in any of the patient experience training that's ongoing? What
Yeah.
kind of things does she train on? Because I feel like that's just a very vague term, right? Patient experience, but there's specific things that will provide a good patient experience. So is it actions like acknowledging patients when you see them, or in terms of follow up? Like, what can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes. So we have two acronyms that we use throughout our practice, that help with our patient experience. One of them is the GREAT method, and that one is about just overall creating a good experience for the patient. So I'll just kind of label it out for you. The G stands for greet. How we greet our patients is important. You shouldn't just like yell at them and turn and walk away. So we kind of walk them through that. The R stands for reassure. It doesn't matter if obviously we can't promise the patients that we can save their sight, but we can reassure them that they're in the best place possible and we're going to do everything we can for them. So we can always be reassuring our patients. The E stands for explain. So make sure that you're explaining every step along the way. Even if our patients come in every 4 weeks, this is kind of what we tell our new employees. We have a lot of patients who come in every 4, 6, 8 weeks, but they forget or they don't remember or they're just frustrated one day and so they're not paying attention. So we tell them what we're doing with them every step of the way. The
Mhm.
A stands for ask for questions. Ask the patient in an appropriate way if they have any questions for you. Don't just say like, "Oh, do you have any questions?" "No." "Okay, great. Thanks. You can come right out here." Right? Like give them the space to ask questions. And then the T stands for tell the patient what's coming next. A lot of what we hear from our upset patients, is usually that we didn't do a good enough job setting expectations for them. So maybe they didn't realize that there was going to be an extended wait, or maybe they didn't realize that they were going to get an FA that day. And so if we tell the patient what's next in every step of the process, we're giving them that
Mhm.
extra communication. And so that's a big one that we train on, the GREAT method. And then the other one that we use is called the LEAP method. And this one is really more used when you've got a patient, or a coworker or a spouse. That's what we tell them. It can really be used anytime you're talking to somebody. But if you find that they might start be getting upset or they are already upset, you can go to the LEAP method and that will help you get through that conversation. And it really,
Mhm.
the L is for listen, and we talk to them about active listening. So listening isn't just listening to rush to a response. It's not interrupting. It's really just sitting there silently and listening, really letting them say what they want to say. The E is for empathize. And there's a really great YouTube video that we show our new hires. It's a Brene Brown video about the difference between empathy and sympathy. Um,
Mhm.
and it's a really amazing video. I would encourage anybody to go and watch it and use that in your training. We get a lot of great feedback on it. So we talk to them about the difference between empathy and sympathy and how we want to empathize with our patients. The A stands for apologize. And so it doesn't matter why this person might be upset. It doesn't matter if you didn't have anything to do with it. We can always apologize to them for how they're feeling or for the experience that they've had. And then the P is problem solve with them. We shouldn't assume that we know what's going to make it better for them. We should involve them in that decision process of figuring out, okay, what can we do differently next time? Or what do I need to do differently now to make this better for you? And so we use both of
Yeah.
those acronyms as a framework, and they generally help in all aspects of our roles of what we do.
Yeah. So eerily, what you just described is very, very similar to our patient experience framework. Um, I couldn't come up with this cool acronym though for our which is ours is acknowledge, making patients feel valued and respected, and then
Mm,
owning that moment and owning that patient, which is that taking full ownership of what's going on in that situation, and then explaining the why. It's again, patients are misunderstood and or they misunderstand what we say, and it's not, they don't deal with this every day. And so going through thorough explanations and then closing the loop, which you said, same thing. It's like making sure that there is a next steps conversation that patients understand, and we clearly ask them, "Well, do you understand? What the next steps are?" And helping them get through that. I'm still working on the. I was going to ask you this question, and you beat me to it. Was like de-escalation
mhm.
because a lot of patients come into healthcare with a lack of understanding of what's happening, what their condition is, and then that can create anxiety. And so
Yep.
that can sometimes come out in terms of frustration or being, grumpy or whatever, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times our staff, if they're not prepared, they'll take it personally, and then the patient's energy can transfer to them, which we want to do it the opposite.
Mhm.
We want our energy to transfer back and provide that patient with a level of understanding and calming and caring so that they start to then come back down and feel like we're taking them to the next step. So uh, I, I think you're right on. I think you have to define what those things are for your practice and how they attach to those core values. And I'm sure that your practice has a set of core values that are associated with these behaviors. And maybe that's a takeaway for those people listening is that it's not enough just to talk about your core values. You have to talk about the behaviors and the actions that support them and teach it and train them. And so um, you guys do a really good job of doing that. And
Thank you.
you're a
Yeah.
great group of people. I know y'all are so awesome. And awesome people tend to breed awesome employees. So, and awesome process. So, congratulations on all that you guys are doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm glad
Yeah.
you brought up the core values because I agree. We do have a set of core values, but in addition to the core values, we have a set of 26 fundamental behaviors that Stephanie, our CEO, developed alongside our executive team and some of our physicians. And this is a relatively new thing for us. I think it's been almost 2 years now that we've had this set of fundamentals, and it's like actionable behaviors like I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Be a goldfish. She got that from Ted Lasso. So when somebody makes
Mhm.
a mistake, we want you to be a goldfish and we want you to know that they've made a mistake just like we all make mistakes and we're going to move on from it. We're not going to dwell on it. We've even got one like, don't be a jerk. Let's be nice to everybody. And so we actually use these fundamentals in an accountability way. So we have them laid out and everybody knows what they are. We have a lot of communication surrounding the fundamentals. Once a week we're sending out an email with a video or a fun little poster about our fundamental of that week. And it really
Uh,
helps us hold people accountable to the way that we want them to treat not just our patients, but each other as well. And it gives them a really good framework for that.
do you guys ever worry that all the information that you're providing to your doctors and staff with the framework and then your core fundamentals, that it's too much for them to remember, right?
Yes.
Because 26 seems like a lot. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
sure they're
Which
all spot on.
26 is a lot. And that's why we do yes, you we struggle with this a lot. We want to give all of the information, but we don't want to overwhelm. And it's actually one of the things that we hear a lot from our team members is that they want more knowledge, they want more communication. And so we're constantly trying to figure out how to walk that line of I'm giving enough information, but I'm not overburdening or overwhelming with information. And so for our fundamentals specifically, we've got them all laid out on a card actually. So it's like a business card and it actually opens up. So you can see all the 26 fundamentals there. And that's given to them when they're hired. And then in addition to that, we do like a fundamental of the week. So every week we're kind of moving to a different fundamental and it's the one that we're highlighting that week specifically. And that's what we're sending out that email. Every Monday an email goes out. This is the fundamental of the week and we try to make it fun. Sometimes it's a video, sometimes it's more of like a, a like a put together page of like fun, like a flyer kind of. So we try to make it fun and engaging in different ways. But yeah, 26 is a lot, but we also that's what it takes to have a great employee and to show everybody the kind of behaviors that we want them to show to our patients and to each other.
Sure. Maybe you can get your staff, like the NFL quarterbacks wear an armband with like the playbook and they can just like
Oh,
lift it
yeah.
up and go like, bam.
Well, a lot of our
um,
employees have like name badges that they wear and they're like in these little plastic pockets. And so they'll put their card in there. And so they have it for like a quick reference if they need
yep.
it.
So when you get to the end, do you just like start over again and
Yep.
just keep going?
Yep. We're on our third
Yeah,
cycle right now, which is how I know it's been almost 2 years.
nice. That is a job in itself, like coming up with all the content for that
It
every
is.
week.
We rotate it through. So, Stephanie, our CEO, started and she did the first full 26 weeks. And then myself
Uh-huh.
and our HR director split the next one. And then, oh, I'm sorry, we're on our fourth cycle. Our director of finance did the third cycle, and now our director of research is doing the fourth cycle. So it's definitely a lot of work to get it all put together and set up and
Yeah,
ready to go. But we also have fun with it. So, that helps a
for sure.
little.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think hearing what you just described is amazing, and I'm sure many practices can learn from that. But I think also what some might say is, gosh, there's just no time in the day to like do all this stuff, and it's just a lot of work. So if somebody said that, and you're like, okay, I get it. Yes, you're very busy. We're all very busy. If there were like one or two things that you say, you know what, why don't you just start here? What would you advise them?
Well, first, I would say start small. You can't bite it all off at once and you can't make all these changes at one time. So, for sure, start small. And then I would say that if we're talking specifically about creating an onboarding, I would say the first step is to really decide for your practice what is most important for you to relay during that first week. How do you want your new hires to come in and feel? Are you trying to make them more passionate? Are you trying to help them understand what their purpose is? Do you want them to be more collaborative with all of the departments? Like what is it that's important for you and your practice? And then I would start there. So maybe if you don't have a formal onboarding program right now, you start with trying to fill one day's worth of content and maybe you don't jump to the full week at first. and you just kind
Mhm.
of go slowly that way. And then I would also say it's really important to have the buy-in of your leadership team or whoever you're going to want to help you with that, because it's not a one-man job. You need help doing it, especially if you wanna be consistent with it. So, use the people in your practice, use your leaders. It's good to have your physicians on board too if you can do that. But that would be what I would say. Start small and figure out what it is that's important for you in your practice, and I would start there, and then, continue to build on it from there.
Awesome. Well, I guess before we wrap up, anything else you want to share? That exciting news? Are y'all moving, growing? How big are y'all now? How many providers and employees are
Um,
you?
we've got 19 physicians right now, which is a lot. I
Okay.
think when I started,
Yeah.
we had 7, so we've grown quite a
Okay.
lot.
Awesome.
And we're right at 300 employees right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. You guys have grown a lot.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I know y'all are doing a lot of research too, and that
Mhm.
had a conversation with you guys a while back about research, and I know that's something y'all are very passionate about as well.
Yes, we've got 3
So
research sites now. We used to only have 1, now we're at 3, and we're thinking, working on our 4th location, which will be a little ways out, but yeah, we do a lot of research. We're very excited for the research that we do.
very cool. Um, yeah, I think so. I was just in Austin a few days ago, and I
Yeah.
was driving by, and I feel like I see more of your signs up now that I drive around, like location wise. So I'm like, ah, these guys are like, whoa, y'all are growing. So, well, thanks Amanda for coming on and sharing your knowledge, and I'm sure that many people listening to this would probably have more questions. And I know you guys are so open to collaborating and sharing, and that's another great thing I think about you guys and your culture, as far as the mindset that you have, and that shows and how intentional you are with your onboarding. So appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank our listeners for joining us today. If you enjoyed the conversation, please make sure to subscribe and share us with your friends on social media. Another quick shout out to Boost Patients for producing the podcast. Boost helps ophthalmology practices get more new patients without spending a dime on marketing. You can learn more about them at their website at boostpatients.com. Until next time, have a great week.